Alright guys, welcome back to Crossing Swords. This is episode 2 with myself, Andrew.
And Jake.
Yeah.
And I'd just like to start by saying something, if I may.
Obviously.
Which I may. It's our podcast, we make the rules. Last week we put out the first episode.
Yeah.
We mostly shared it with friends and family, yes, but the feedback was really, really positive.
Very surprisingly so as well.
Now, I wasn't thinking anything when we made the first episode, but now I'm a little bit terrified.
Yeah.
The pressure to suddenly maintain any kind of standards and possibly even improve them.
It's quite daunting.
It is daunting.
Yeah.
And I wanted to just sort of say it because I think we want to be quite open and talk about the F word. Let's talk about feelings.
Yeah.
That's how I'm feeling. And I just wanted to mention it. A little bit terrified.
Yeah, I'd say first off, I'd just like to thank everyone for the positive feedback. There were certain people who I shared it with that I deliberately shared it with them because I was hoping they'd be more critical, and they were, but also the positive feedback that came along with it was really encouraging. And I just want to say thank you for that, but also that I am far more nervous about the second episode than I was the first. But yeah,
and I owe a lot of people high fives now.
Yeah, we've got to go do a round after this of just driving to people's houses and hugging them.
I hoard myself out and really suffered.
Yeah, we've got a long list of people to go and hug now. But no, it's brilliant. Thank you everyone for, first of all, listening and also for the positive feedback, and we hope you continue listening going forward.
And continue giving us feedback and topics and episode ideas.
Yeah.
But today, we're going to talk about, this week we've had the European finals.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about the European finals.
Yeah, let's start off with the Europa League between Arsenal and Chelsea.
Quite, let's do it chronologically. And I think we have to start before the game even starts.
Yeah.
The host venue.
Baku.
Azerbaijan. Something that I don't even consider technically being Europe.
No.
As far as I'm concerned, I mean, we're currently sitting in a room
with a huge
world map. And Azerbaijan is, quite frankly, in Asia.
Yeah.
Once you get past Turkey, you're in Asia.
Well, yeah, and it's next to Iran, so it's like Middle East.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you would quite class that as Europe, but I suppose it's not. Yeah, it's pretty.
No, and when you consider
it's Europe-esque.
When you consider how far it is, it's no wonder that companies want to charge you thousands of pounds to get there.
Yeah, I mean, it was all a bit of a joke. I mean, just fundamentally holding the final of a tournament for European countries in a country that, and a city that has no airports nearby is a bit of a joke.
Yeah, and I think not to bring politics into it, but having it in a country where not all of your squad are going to be welcomed.
Well, exactly. The whole
immediately red flags
situation was really horrendous. I mean, admittedly, he's not exactly their best player, but he's still a player, and the fact he wasn't welcome in that country is frightening.
Yeah, really, really bad for UEFA. I mean, people getting stopped in the streets.
Yeah, for wearing a Mkhitaryan shirt.
I mean, what a joke of a situation. Yeah. And it's all good having tickets priced at £20, but
if people can't get
it costs you 30. And the UEFA's official suggestion was to fly to an airport 5,500 kilometres away.
Yeah.
And then wondered why people weren't that keen to travel 3,000 miles, not by
and then in the end actually had to give away tickets for free to get people to fill the stadium, which is just, overall, it's just farcical.
But then, okay, it's been a joke, it's been bad.
Let's now talk about the football.
We get to the stadium. The camera is further away from the pitch than Mkhitaryan.
The fans are miles away from the pitch.
The fans are... Yeah. I don't even think they could see the game.
No.
But okay, the football starts.
Yep.
What a shit game of football.
Yeah, it wasn't good at all. I think the amount of goals it flatters to deceive in terms of the
Very
quality
much
of the game.
None of the players played well.
No.
It felt like a friendly.
Yeah.
And I just think that there needed to be some kind of desire from both teams that just wasn't there.
No, I don't think it was, which I think is a shame for both managers because it's a huge opportunity to get silverware on your CV, particularly for Emery, who's coming in and people are still doubtful of him, of his qualities as a manager, especially to come to England and take over Arsenal from Arsene Wenger. There's a lot of pressure there, and I think it was a massive opportunity.
Really helped him.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think for Sarri, I mean, I do think he's going to leave Chelsea, but he now gets to leave with a medal round his neck.
Yeah, as does Hazard.
Yeah.
Who is, I think, we all
he's got to leave, surely.
He's
I mean, he
leaving.
said after the game that he's pretty sure his time's up. And if I was Chelsea, I'd cash in and sell him personally.
No, his time's absolutely up.
But I think you'd have to say Hazard was probably the man of the match.
And I would say Giroud. I
Yeah,
think
closely
Giroud
behind,
played.
but Hazard probably
Said that little
edges
chip
it.
for Hazard's finish.
Yeah.
Filthy. Loved
Yeah.
it. Such a fan of that.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think Giroud is massively underrated, and I think it shows how poor Arsenal's judgment is that he was probably the difference between the two teams, other than Hazard.
Yeah, I think he was, and I think Arsenal let him go for something really cheap, didn't they, as well?
Yeah, it wasn't for much. I think it must have been because at first he was on loan and then they signed him permanently. It must have been around the 15 million mark. I think.
And Giroud was the top scorer for Chelsea in that competition.
Yeah,
In a competition that they ultimately won.
and he's also won a World Cup in the last year as well. So I think it really shows that Arsenal have a poor lack of judgment.
And for Chelsea, I want to ask you a question. They've obviously, it's been a little bit on and off during the Premier League this season. With the European trophy in the cabinet, do you consider that a successful season?
By Chelsea standards, if you look at them over the years, probably not. But if you look at the standards that were set in the Premier League this season, Sarri finished third behind arguably two of the best teams we've seen in the Premier League era. So on balance, I'd probably say it has been a good season, particularly the fact he's won a trophy. So yeah, I would say it's been a good season.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's been a good season. What about Arsenal? Cup
They're-
final. Out of the Champions League places.
I mean, on balance, again, I think with how big an impact that happens to a club as we've seen with United when Fergie left, and now with Arsenal with Arsene Wenger leaving. Now, I know the end of Wenger's tenure wasn't exactly great, but it's still a massive thing to take on, and I think on balance, Emery's probably done a decent job considering he's not had a lot of money to spend. He's had to work with Wenger's squad essentially. And,
They're in a transition period.
yeah, and I think, so to be fair, to get to a European final
With that squad, with the
and
greatest respect, the Arsenal squad
is great.
terrible.
Yeah,
Apart from Lacazette and Aubameyang, who have been fantastic this season,
yeah,
midfield terrible,
yeah,
defence even worse,
yeah,
and
Leno's
Leno
been
checking
okay,
goal.
to be
They've been
fair.
alright,
yeah,
but as a bad team, so to get them anywhere near a final
yeah.
is a success.
I would say Arsenal need a massive rebuild, but from what I've heard, they've not got the money to do it.
No, perhaps not. But let's look at Arsenal's rivals, Tottenham,
Yeah,
who played on Saturday in the Champions League final.
yeah,
Now, just to compare Madrid as a host city to Baku,
yeah,
there was a story about some Tottenham fans at Stansted Airport who got delayed on a flight, didn't land in Madrid until 7:30 local time.
yeah.
They got rushed through the airport through all the checks, and they got a police escort through to the stadium, and to the best of my knowledge, made it on time.
Which is a fantastic
They
thing
arrived
to
an
pull
hour
off,
and a half
actually, to
before
be
the
fair.
game and got there for kick-off,
Yeah,
which is a massive difference between them and
well, it
Baku.
shows a difference in infrastructure, doesn't it?
It's a huge difference in infrastructure.
Yeah.
It's
And I
massive.
think you do need to really have a stringent checklist on what a host city has to have to host
Absolutely.
a final.
Can it get people in and out
Yeah.
of the city? Can it get people to and from the games? Can it feed them? Can it keep them drunk? Because ultimately,
Yeah.
football fans drink from all over the
And
world.
also, have you got enough places for them to stay?
Yeah.
Now,
If you-
obviously, a city like Madrid has all of that, and clearly a city like Baku
I
doesn't.
realise you want to share it around, but if you don't have all those things, you
Yeah.
can't host.
No.
And, you know, it's an interesting thing for UEFA. How do you pick some of the smaller nations without keeping it to the same 3 or 4 big
Yeah.
cities who can do it? London, Madrid,
Yeah.
those kind of places, Paris, that can.
There's got to be a better way to do it. I mean, even if they plan for 5 to 10 years in advance, work with these cities and these countries to put the infrastructure in place or get the planning in place to get the infrastructure in place to make sure that they can host it properly and as a credit to the city they're trying to show off. Because all it's done now is, I mean, I wasn't planning on going to Baku before,
You look like
but
a
I'm
rebel.
certainly not planning on it now.
You look like you really wanted to take in some of that Azerbaijani culture.
Do you know what I mean? I've always wanted to be that close to Iraq and Iran. So, but now,
I love
after
being in the middle of a
seeing,
war-torn zone.
seeing how long it would take me to get there, it's not
And
really
how
much.
much.
Yeah,
I don't think you
I've
have enough
definitely been
kidneys to
put off now.
But the game,
But yeah, the game was really poor.
it was not a good game.
Yeah.
Again, I think this one, like the other one, it felt like two teams who hadn't played for 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a flaw with the European leagues and with the European finals, and I know it's because they do it after the European leagues have finished. So obviously Italy and Spain carry on longer than the Premier League does, so that's why we have such a big gap if we do make it to the final.
As did Holland, who nearly had a team in the final.
Yeah.
Bar a miraculous comeback from Lucas Moura.
Yeah.
Yeah, the game. Also, the heat. It was quite hot and sticky, which really worries me because we've got a World Cup in Qatar coming up.
Yeah, and apparently
And
we
if-
can't handle
If
that.
you thought 25 degrees in Madrid was bad, wait till you get out to 30 plus in Qatar.
There's all sorts of things wrong with that World Cup, not just the temperature.
Yeah, I mean, we could easily do a whole episode on that.
Which I wouldn't mind doing at some point, actually,
But,
to be fair. But that's not what we're talking about
The
today.
game wasn't great. The penalty, let's start there. Was it a penalty? I think we both have very much the same view.
Yeah, I would have to say you do. If you have your hand that high up, regardless of what the purpose was for, and obviously clearly he was telling one of his
Players to
track the runner,
But when you get in the box, hand behind the back.
yeah, you can't. I mean, it does actually look like, to be fair, Mane aims for his hand when he plays that ball, but fair play.
I mean, you always say, you know, if the argument is quite often, if that was your team, well, as a Palace fan, if someone like Joel Ward had committed that, my first thought would be, why the fuck is your arm up in the box?
Yeah.
Put your hand down. Put your hand down.
I mean, I've got to be honest, I did feel quite sorry for Sissoko, because if I was to look at someone in the Premier League that has been the most improved player this
Hands
season,
down, one of the most.
he's got to be, because for years he's been ridiculed since moving to Tottenham that he was a waste of money, whereas I think this season he's changed that opinion, so for that to happen to him in a final is really unfair. But
And speaking of players who have become surprisingly key players, I would have to look at Divock Origi in Liverpool.
yeah,
Who has
what's
popped up
happened
with some
there,
of the
man?
luckiest goals. Someone once said, would you rather have a good player or a lucky player?
Oh, you'd have a
And they'd
lucky
rather,
player.
rather, have the
all
lucky,
day.
rather
Yeah,
have the lucky player. I think Divock Origi is very lucky. The goal, it was a nice strike, but it fell to him really beautifully.
yeah. I mean,
His passing was off. He couldn't win anything for shit. He had a bad game,
yeah.
but he popped up with a goal that won
Yeah,
the
I mean,
Champions
literally, as
League.
soon as that ball fell to him, and I was watching it on telly at home, I instantly went goal. Before it even gone to his foot, you just knew from that position, and with how he's played when he's been up front for Liverpool recently, I just thought that's a goal, and it instantly just flew bottom corner, and fair play to him. And yeah, I believe his contract's expiring soon with Liverpool, so it'd be interesting to see
Yeah, I mean,
whether they
he's
keep him or
probably
not.
earned himself a new contract just on
Yeah.
the goals he's provided this season.
Yeah,
Then I'd like to look at the other end of the pitch, at Tottenham's strike force, in Harry Kane, who really disappointed me last night because, yes, he's been injured and he perhaps shouldn't have played, but there was a couple of moments where his first instinct was to look for a foul.
yeah,
And quite frankly, Harry Kane of a couple of years ago, and I think it goes to show that his experiences playing European football and playing at the national level have been bad for him.
yeah,
Because Harry Kane a couple of years ago would have been, I mean, he got one where he went shoulder to shoulder with Matip. A couple of years ago, he'd have barged Matip off the ball and rifled that with his left foot, just put power on it, or
Yeah.
he'd have got in front of Matip and held him off.
Yeah.
But this time his first thought was, I'm going down.
yeah. Go for the easy option.
And it's really disappointing.
Yeah, but it
Really
shows obviously, I think maybe a level of self-doubt has maybe crept into him a little bit that, oh, maybe I'm not going to be able to score this if I muscle him off, so he thinks he backs himself more through the penalty spot than he does in those situations, which is a shame. And I think from what I saw last night, I think there's a danger he could end up sort of going the way Wayne Rooney did. He kept dropping deep. I mean, to be fair to him, he pinged a couple of beautiful balls in there.
I think he's great in the role, but you want him up front.
Yeah, he has to stay as a striker. I think he needs to learn from Wayne Rooney's mistake and continue to be selfish and
Absolutely.
and be like, no, I have to be the main man or I don't stay here, you know. And I don't think that was being forced on him to drop back last night, but I think it needs to be forced on him to just stay up top.
No, he needs to be the central focal point
Yeah.
in that team.
And I think, to be fair, Tottenham overall were incredibly disappointed last night. And I actually hoped when that goal went in, I think it was 1 minute 48 seconds, whatever it was, I really hoped that was going to liven the game up, but it did the complete opposite. It killed the game off.
Credit to Tottenham, they were consistent in Europe. They waited till the 80th minute to start having a go.
But no, and the really sad thing was they had some opportunities where, had they been less selfish going forward, and it did very much feel like some of the players, and I would probably put it on Son more than anyone, gave the impression he saw the headlines, he'd take it past someone,
Yeah,
and then think, I got the next guy.
He
Instead
did really well
yeah.
to get past the first two, but then
Yeah.
there's a third or a fourth.
Yeah,
to
just
clear
lay it off,
out.
hold it for a second, give it to someone
And I
else.
think you compared it to you on FIFA.
Yeah, playing pro clubs, Ash, it's a bit of a shout out to you whenever we would play. I'm very much the sort of player I like to take it past people on pro clubs, and he knows with me, if I get it past the first guy, he would start screaming at me to pass it to him, because he knows once I've got past the first guy, in my head I'm like, alright, I've got this now, I'll take it past the next five.
And that was a bit like what it was watching Son.
Yeah, and that was
Son.
very much what it felt like watching last night, that Son just got into his head, I can do this on my own. Which was a real shame, and I think until the last 10 minutes, Spurs didn't cover themselves in glory at all.
But ultimately, 2 poor games,
Yeah.
but 4 English finalists.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing for English football? Has that been?
I mean, it's a great
English football?
achievement on paper, you know, when you hear that England dominated Europe this season.
Well, I think it's a great thing for the Premier League, but I don't think it's a good thing for English football. I've had a brief look at the numbers. So obviously, 22 players in each final. That's 44 players started on the pitch.
Yeah.
8 of those were English.
And I bet the majority were Spurs players.
5 of them came from Tottenham.
Yeah.
If you include the subs that came on the pitch, 13 English players, and let's say, because they didn't all use all their subs, but let's say each team had 2 subs, that takes it up to 50 players that played in the final.
Yeah.
That's 26% of the players
Yeah.
were English. 27% if you include Robertson, at a bit of a push. I mean, the Europa League final was really disappointing, because Ainsley Maitland-Niles is the only English player that started out of those 22.
Wow, that's quite shocking, actually.
Joe Willock came on quite late for Arsenal,
Yeah.
and Ross Barkley came on for Chelsea later in the game. That's it. 3 players played in that game.
Yeah.
Only one of them started that was English. That's not a good thing. That's not an advert for English football.
No, it's not at all. But then I think, unfortunately, the way the Premier League has gone in general, it's not about English talent anymore. It's just about talent in general, whether they're English or from another country. And I think most big clubs in England now, they can't afford, with the pressures of the money and everything, that they have to go for someone who's more proven, and they won't take the risk on a young English player.
No.
It's just not going to happen. Spurs is the only team in England that does it,
But
or in the Premier League rather, that does it.
if we can stick with Spurs then, let's talk a little bit about Pochettino
Yeah.
and what he's done. And I think I'd just like to give a big shout out, and I've said it before, to the staff at Southampton who found him.
Yeah.
Because let's not remember that, okay, Van Dijk was doing a bit in Celtic, but they also found Van Dijk, Lovren, Oxlade-Chamberlain came
Yeah.
to the academy, they found Mane,
Yeah.
they found Alana.
Yeah.
They deserve a lot of credit. They can't hold players or managers.
No, they're not big enough.
Bloody
to-
hell, they found some.
Yeah. No, in all fairness, Pochettino has been incredible since he's come to English football. I mean, I remember when he joined Southampton, I was really sceptical because I liked Nigel Adkins at the time.
That sentence has not aged well.
No, and I think I put a post on at the time saying I thought it was disgusting they sacked him, but I think,
Boy, were you wrong.
yeah, completely. And Pochettino has been a fantastic manager. I remember even holding against him that it took him a year to do an interview in English.
Me too, but my favourite thing about Pochettino now, just linking it to the English thing, is that he does seem to favour, wherever he goes, putting a majority of homegrown players
Which is
in
brilliant.
his teams. When he was at, Southampton, again, a lot of those players were English. I know Southampton are a bit more limited to buying from lower leagues,
But still, teams in their position would usually still favour finding someone
no,
from abroad.
and I think it's a fantastic thing to be doing, and
Yeah.
that is promoting the English game.
Yeah, I think more managers should follow Pochettino's lead. But
Pochettino has done more for the English national side than anyone in the last 10 years,
agreed.
15 years.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Because all the players that are playing in England are getting their game time at Tottenham.
Yeah,
I think it's we really owe him a lot.
yeah, we do. And I think people will criticise the fact he's not won a trophy and he hasn't won the Champions League now. But I mean, if you look on balance, even just on paper, Liverpool should have always won that final. They have the
They were
far
always
better
going to win.
team.
They were always
But
gonna
I
win.
think Spurs and Pochettino have shown what can be done by not actually spending money, showing faith in the team you've got, and promoting domestic talent.
Which, let's use that as a jumping off point.
Yeah.
Links us brilliantly to the second thing that we want to talk about today, which we've been asked about by one of our fans, and I'm going to call him a fan. He's a friend, but he's a fan now.
Yeah, we're naming him a fan.
Money in football. Lots of reports this week that Newcastle United are to be bought
Yeah.
by an Arab sheikh.
Whose name I'm not even going to
£350
attempt to pronounce.
Wouldn't even try. Wouldn't embarrass myself. Well, yeah, maybe. But he asked us, do we think that's a good move for Newcastle? What do you do if Newcastle get it? Now, my first thought is, does anyone remember the fake sheikh that the Sun used to have a few years ago? Has anyone checked that it's this guy? Because Mike Ashley would be prime target as far as I'm concerned.
Possibly, but I think if there's one thing you can guarantee with Mike Ashley, he makes sure the money's on the table. He doesn't care if they're fake or real.
You're right, he wants to get paid.
Yeah.
He wants to get paid. Money, money, money.
I think on paper it's a fantastic thing for Newcastle. I think it's a good thing for the Premier League because Newcastle were very much what I would consider a sleeping giant.
On paper, it's very hard to say that 350 million injection, or it's not even 350 million, but
No.
an Arab injection of money is bad for any club.
No, it's not. I mean, if it depends on their motives. I mean, we saw with teams like Portsmouth in the past, they had an Arab millionaire takeover, and it turned out he actually had no money to spend, and it was a complete disaster. So it can go badly, but from what I've heard, this guy's genuine, and I think he could be good for Newcastle.
I think Newcastle are very lucky. They've got a great stadium,
Yeah.
and they don't have any difficulty bringing players to the city, because if you go there and you don't play shit, and that's
You're a
literally
hero.
the minimum
Yeah,
requirement,
you're
you
a
are
hero.
a god in that
Yeah.
country, or in that part of the country. So I think they're really lucky in that regard. What I would say for Newcastle not to do is, when City had their first injection of money and they went out and they bought players like Robinho,
Yeah.
it's essentially like winning the lottery and buying a great big flash watch.
Yeah.
It serves no purpose at all
No.
other than to say, look, I've got some money.
I've got a flash watch.
And all it does is it makes you look like a bit of a wanker.
Yeah, it does. I think,
Invest it.
yeah, they've got...
Buy a house, buy a car, start up a business or something that's going to make you genuinely happy going
Yeah, don't
forward.
just smash it on cocaine
That's
and
what
hookers.
Newcastle. That arguably would make me quite happy.
Temporarily until the money runs out and you're in hospital for...
Or until the hookers rob me.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
No, I think very much. I think Newcastle, like I said, I think it's a sleeping giant. They've got a world-class manager and coach in Rafa Benitez. He's
Imagine
won
what he could
trophies.
do with money.
Yeah, but it exposes him. If they do get taken over and he gets the money to spend, there's no hiding place anymore. Because at the moment he's been given a free ride, more or less, because of the love the fans have for him and the fact he's had no money to spend.
I think Newcastle, in large, thanks to Benitez's setup as well. Defensively, I think they're okay.
Yeah, they've got Lascelles, who's a fantastic captain and centre back.
But they need goals.
Yeah.
I know they brought in Almiron last season.
Yeah.
But they need a playmaker.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's proven enough yet. And Shelvey.
No, but maybe with some backup behind him, he could do.
Shelvey wants to be a part-time boxer and a goal scorer. Because Rondon, I really like Rondon. He works hard, and I love Perez.
Yeah.
But
They're
they're
not
not going
top
to get
quality.
you. They're not going to get you 20 a season.
No. I mean, what I would ask you is, do you think Mike Ashley was or is as bad as the Newcastle fans think from the outside?
No. I think they... But that's really easy for me to say because they paint a really bad picture of
Yeah.
it. I think... there's part of me that wonders... Obviously you mentioned that Mike Ashley was all about the money, getting paid. But there's part of me that wonders, did he genuinely look at the situation like what happened at Portsmouth and say, I don't want to see this club tumble down by having some irresponsible owner who doesn't really care take over? And was part of him, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here, I'm not saying I believe it, but did part of him believe that he was holding on for that to find the right buyer who's actually going to take Newcastle, at least keep it at the same level, if not take it forward?
Perhaps. I mean, from what I've heard about Mike Ashley and how his other companies like Sports Direct run, I don't think he had any altruistic purposes when he bought Newcastle or in the way he's run it. But what I would say, I don't think he's as bad as Newcastle fans make him out to be. I think doing things like renaming St James's Park the Sports Direct Arena and things like that, those things do not win you over any fans with the fans.
No, anywhere, particularly in Newcastle.
No. And to be fair,
you might as well come out.
I don't think anyone calls it the Sports Direct Arena. They still call it St James's Park.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well wipe your arse with photos of Ant on deck and.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Really insult the Geordies.
Or start vandalising Alan Shearer's statue.
Yeah, just take a leak up against it or something.
But no, I think actually, if you look at what he's done behind the scenes, I mean, especially attracting someone like Rafa Benitez to the club is a huge achievement, and keeping him there when they got relegated. And then also, if you look at how he's run the club financially, now the fans will complain that the money's not been invested, which is fair enough, but actually, going back to teams like Portsmouth and stuff like that did overspend, Bolton, teams that have gone down, and you've seen the damage that's been done to the club because they've had owners that have thrown money at it, like Bolton in particular, that have had an owner that over the years has thrown nearly 200 million at the club for nothing.
And ended up not even playing their last couple of games of the season.
Exactly, and Newcastle
have
been relegated twice under Mike Ashley and come back up. Now, yes, the relegations are appalling and they're too big a club to keep going down.
Come straight back up.
But they've come straight back up, and the last time he did invest money into the club, he allowed them to get players like Dwight Gale who got them back up and players of that ilk. And I think if you look at them on a financial footing, they are, I believe, one of the only teams in the league to be operating transfer-wise on a profit.
Yeah, there aren't many, and all of them are at the bottom end of the table.
And he hasn't lent the club money and put money in, and rightfully so, he's entitled to want that money back. You know, why should he throw money at the club freely? That's not what he ever vowed to do. He vowed to invest in the club, which he has done.
No, I think he's a businessman. I think all fans want their club to be taken over by fans who are happy to spend their fortune on the club. But he's a businessman.
Yeah, but that's also not a smart way of running a football club. Like I said, look at Portsmouth, look at Sunderland, look at Bolton, clubs that have had money invested in them, and it's been invested in the wrong way.
And it would be like if you were into cars and you built up this car, you got this little shitty banger, and you built it up and you put all these body mods on it, and you did the engine up and you properly modified it, and you spent thousands of pounds on it. You wouldn't then sell it on for like 50 quid because you love the car.
You've invested in it.
Because you're happy to see it go, because you're like, I'm so proud of the car, I don't care about the money.
Yeah.
You want your money back.
Yeah.
You're like, I've invested that money, therefore the club is worth, in your mind, what you've invested in it.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I can understand why, as a passionate Newcastle fan, you would think everything I'm coming out with is a pile of shit and that he should have been running it differently. But as we said, he's obviously not a Newcastle fan in the way a normal fan would be.
He's not. He's a businessman.
He's a businessman, and he's run it as a business, which, quite frankly, is the way a football club should be run. You know, you shouldn't spend above your means. You shouldn't keep going into debt. Like I said, just look over the years how many clubs have been in trouble from overreaching. And if they do get this investment and they do have someone who can throw money at it, fantastic. That is also brilliant.
Just going off of what you're saying, if they do get this investment, I'd be very wary about throwing money into it in case the investment suddenly leaves.
Well, that's it. But then I thought the same about
Man City. And then you're left with hundreds of thousands of pounds a week on the wage bill.
I wondered if that would happen with Man City. And I do still think there's a chance one day that Sheikh Mansour is going to sell Man City, and then they're going to be in a position that's not so great. But what he has also done at the same time is he's invested in everything around the club, and he's growing it globally, financially, and in every other way he can. And I think that's the best thing to do if you are going to throw money at a football club. It shouldn't just be about throwing it on the pitch. It's about doing it in general. You know, investing the money in increasing your marketability around the world. I mean, if you look at United, the amount of debt United has, but they can sustain it because of their global reach.
Is when Lenny Henry pops himself off to Africa to do a little video.
Yeah.
You want him gathering round with little African kids who are all wearing Newcastle. Because right now they're all wearing United shirts and Chelsea shirts. Yeah. You want them wearing Newcastle shirts. That's a sign of how far your brand's gone.
Yeah. When you could go into a jungle somewhere and they know who David Beckham is, you know your club's made.
Yeah, when you track like a cocaine supply line right back to the growers in the heart of the Colombian jungle, and they're all cutting the plants wearing Newcastle shirts, you've done your job.
Yeah.
You've done well.
100%.
And I think that ultimately is probably not a bad place.
No, I mean, we've missed out on one thing in terms of the European games. We wanted to talk about the four managers in general. We've talked about Emery and how he done. Should we move? And we talked about Pochettino as well, and sorry, but we've missed out one. We've missed out Klopp.
In Klopp we trust.
In Klopp we trust.
I can't remember there being anyone in my lifetime in football as likeable as Klopp. You just want him to do well. He's your mate.
Yeah.
He's so passionate. And his track record is phenomenal.
Now, it's incredible.
I was worried about his cup final record. Hasn't been great. Won the first one, then lost, I think, 4.
Yeah.
The next 4.
I mean, in fairness, they probably could have won it last year if not for Karius having
this is the thing, they
arguably
lost
the worst
lost by 2 goals, and they were
season.
2 of the worst goals I've ever seen conceded in my life.
Yeah.
They were genuinely terrible.
Yeah.
And that poor guy is gonna.
I mean, it's still haunting him now. He's at Besiktas making howlers still.
I mean, genuinely, I don't like the fact that sometimes I close my eyes and I get flashbacks to paintball and the noise of the pellets flying over your head. Imagine having the ball
I mean,
come off your
I have
gloves into the
Vietnam
goal.
flashbacks of stepping out the way of an attacking player at five-a-side, so
It was bad.
it was bad. And I know there are people listening to this podcast that will remember it not so fondly, and rightfully so.
No, when he says stepping out the way of a player, he literally means
I stepped
as a
out the
defending
way.
player,
Yeah.
an attacker was running towards him and he stepped to one side and ushered him through politely onto the goal.
And he scored.
And he scored. And he didn't thank you though, did he?
He didn't thank me,
He
which
didn't
I,
thank you.
which I thought was quite rude after doing something so polite for him.
Because really,
Yeah.
it was all down to you.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I should have been given an assist. That's how
Or it's
big a step to the side I
He
made.
should have slowly stuck a fiver in the palm of your hand or
Minimum
something, like
fiver.
a good doorman.
Yeah, minimum fiver.
But Klopp's done some incredible things at Liverpool.
He has.
Again, I know we talked about Arsenal having not a very good team. Liverpool don't really have a very good.
No, I mean,
midfield.
if you look at that defence before Van Dijk was put in, it was horrendous. It was
terrible.
The reason they had to be so good on the attack was
Van
because of
Dijk
how bad they were at the back.
Van Dijk, okay, cost a lot of money, but Van Dijk and Robertson made the biggest difference in that team.
Oh, 100%. But even Robertson wasn't considered as good as he is this season
No.
before Van Dijk was put in.
But you look at that midfield and you think Ronaldo, Fabinho, Henderson, you think, are
Yeah.
they all replaceable? Yeah.
Yeah,
The
I
answer
mean-
is yeah.
I mean, if I'm being really harsh, and admittedly Henderson's been a good player for Liverpool overall, probably one of the worst captains in the history of the Champions League to lift the trophy.
I think Klopp's got a really tough job now because at the end of a season you have to have a culling. You have to get rid of players to bring players in that are going to genuinely improve your squad. And he's had a squad that really overperformed.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, on the base of this season, have earned a new contract. They've earned a place in that team.
Yeah.
But to really take the team forward, they've
You've
got to
to cut
go.
a few of them off, yeah.
So I think he's got a really tough job.
Yeah.
But you know what? Honestly, of all the people I can think getting fired by, I think Klopp would be one that I wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
I'd get it.
Yeah, no, I do really like Klopp, but like I do feel a little bit sometimes when I watch him. It reminds me of a little bit like when Palace got Ian Holloway. He looks great from afar, and you'd love having him at that point. But once he's your manager, I can just imagine some of the things he does.
Yeah,
would
well,
spark you a little
let's
bit.
not forget the excuses. It was too snowy, it was too windy, it was too wet. It wasn't wet enough.
Yeah.
They've all been fantastic excuses.
But no, to be fair to him, he has done an incredible job at Liverpool. But I think probably at the start of the season, if you'd have asked Liverpool fans what they would have preferred, the Premier League or the Champions League, I'm pretty sure they'd have gone for the Premier League.
Absolutely.
But overall, you'd have to say they've had a phenomenal season.
They've got to kick on, make sure they don't get disheartened by
Yeah.
the loss this season, and the Klopp's got to build them back up and
Yeah.
keep going and carry on good work.
No, I agree.
And I think Klopp's probably a better place to end than like starving African children, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say so.
It's a higher note.
Yeah, he's
mean,
definitely more
Klopp's-
joyful than starving Africans.
Klopp's won a medal. The Africans haven't won anything.
No, they haven't won anything.
They don't even get fed.
No.
They don't deserve to get fed. They've never won anything.
Wow. It's a bit brutal.
Start winning things. Do you know
Right,
what?
well,
we had a good place to end and I ruined it, didn't I?
Yeah, well, as Jeremy Clarkson would say, on that bombshell, I think we'll end it there. But once again, guys, thank you for all of your feedback, positive and constructive, and we hope you continue to do that. Please send us questions on our Twitter page at Swords Crossing,
At Swords Crossing.
on our Facebook page Crossing Swords, and we also have an email address which is crossingsword19@gmail.com.
Yeah,
So-
we'll be on Spotify, we're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher.
Yeah.
Even though you've now heard this, go and play it in the background on one of the others. Let's get those listens up.
Yeah,
Tell people you like, tell people you don't like.
yeah.
Share it around. We want
Yeah,
people
even if
to-
you hate it, share it with someone you don't like so that
Yeah.
you can punish them for it.
We don't count, by the way, as people you don't like. You can't just share it with us.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
No, we've already played it several times at this point. By the
Yeah,
time we're
exactly.
on it. And I'm not going to haul myself out this time. I'm not going to promise high fives or hugs.
No, but we
Okay.
still owe you high fives and hugs for the first one.
No, if we get to like 50 listeners, I might start offering out blowjobs.
Wow. Hand jobs, maybe?
Yeah, for like 25. There's 25 listeners and jobs.
Yeah. Jesus, what are we going to do if we ever make it to 1,000 listeners?
You're right, I should hold the blowjob back.
Yeah, I think blowjob's a higher reward.
Blowy should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should hold the blowjob back.
Yeah.
Disregard that, listeners. Blowjob is for 1,000 fans.
Yeah. Alright, now we will see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.